Does this make me look chill? Does this make me look chill?
Welcome to Does This Make Me Look Chill? We've got a fabulous guest who's joining us remotely today, Graham Clark, who you may know from his work on CBC's Debaters, or This Hour Has 22 Minutes as a West Coast correspondent. He also runs a fabulous podcast called Stop Podcasting Yourself. Graham, how are you doing today? Thank you for being here.
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so we had special topics for each of the episodes that we've plotted out, just to sort of have big conversations about the things that stress us out within them and the things that we love about them. And with you, like with some guests, we've had trouble deciding what topic we would do with them, and we've been saving food for a special guest. And given the wealth of wonderful comedic material you have on specific foods, we thought this would be a no-brainer for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Well, this is great. I'm excited to be here for this.
So I'd like to go over about the sort of last year that everyone's been through. Obviously, it's been really, strange for some. And as someone who's a touring comedian and working all the time, can you tell us a little bit about the difference between this time last year versus now for you?
Oh, that's a good, that's a really good question. Because this time last year we're just kind of heading into holiday time. So there's, you get some shows where it's like a company Christmas party or something like that. I feel like I get a couple of those every year, and that's around this time. They're always awful. They're uniformly terrible, but they pay nicely. And so I would be going, at this time of year, I'd be going to a couple small towns to do that kind of thing. And so I would have been doing some sort of traveling, and I haven't been anywhere except to go visit my parents in Alberta like 6 months ago.
6 months ago. Oh, yeah. Well, at least you got to go before the bitter cold set in. At least I usually get to visit my Alberta family once a year on Easter weekend, and it's always just a frozen hellscape.
Oh yeah. I mean, it can be a frozen hellscape in the middle of July. Like it doesn't.
Oh, right, because you're Calgary born, right?
Yeah. Right.
Myself
and
as well.
Calgary doesn't follow your rules,
Right. It doesn't believe in seasons. It does what it wants.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I think that, and then the other thing is, I would be going to see my folks in Calgary, and we're not going to do that this year. So that would be the general kind of gist of what I would be doing. I'd also probably just I would be busier, than I have been. Like go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just one of the things that you also did prior to sort of the lockdown or the pandemic is run a wonderful show here in Vancouver called Laugh Gallery out of Havana's theater, which obviously can't happen for a while. So that's got to be another thing that's a sort of a big piece that's missing, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one of the components of that show is that I give away thrift store finds, like really what I think are really cool thrift store finds. And because I haven't been doing that, I've been to one thrift store since March. And I used to go every week. That was kind of, so...
I was going to say, you would love this closet.
I love it already. Just looking at it.
It's just nothing but useless.
I love it.
But it does look vaguely color-coded, which I appreciate.
It does look color-coded.
An uptight, tidy person, I respect that. So
it's like I even like board fold my sweaters up there and everything. Retail.
I also want to talk about this cartoon Catwoman you've got on the wall still. What's that about?
Catman.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, he's got a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
Where did you pick up that? Is that an art gallery find or?
Actually, yeah, local artist M.W. Boeing. He is dope. I would highly recommend it. You probably have seen his stuff. He has random art just like
on the streets, right? Yeah, I totally recognize it.
That was
that's awesome.
Eastside Flea was where he was at, but again, like thrift shopping and everything, but it's all gone now. So it's like,
yeah, I went a couple weeks ago, first thing in the day, to a thrift store, so there wouldn't be anybody around, and it was glorious. It was just nice to be back. I only bought like one pair of pants, and that was it. But it just felt like good to be back in the swing of things, Yeah. So I missed that. I miss doing the show every week. I mean, there are other people that are putting on weekly shows, which I think is bonkers, but to each their own, and whatever people need to get through. But running a show now just doesn't feel like the thing for me.
No, I think it's totally understandable. And one thing, another part of the reason that we're doing the interview remotely is because you're an asthmatic, so you have to be extra careful of going outside as well.
Yes, yeah,
right.
So I've been sticking pretty closely to my bubble. That's been my approach. How about you guys? Are you sticking in a bubble?
Pretty close. Yeah, we I've been coming to the office every day because my husband and I live in a 500 square foot apartment and we're both over 6 feet and 200 pounds, and so it's good for our marriage that one of us doesn't work from home.
Yeah, if you guys are walking around, then it'd be like a prison yard. My God.
I've literally been climbing the stairwells in our 18-story building just to have something like a change of scenery. A second location is just I exercise in the stairwells for months.
And your calves have never been thicker and juicy.
You know what? I don't want to like brag, but
wow, nice. Yeah, well done.
Luckily you have other disciplines that you can work on when you're not out. And I want to talk about one specifically, which is your beard art.
Yes.
So you have raised thousands of dollars over years and years, crafting paintings out of that luscious, beautiful beard that you've got there.
Thank you.
People can access them at beardpaintings.com. I had to scan through, I think if I had to choose a favorite, I really loved the robots playing leapfrog.
Oh yeah, that was like a whole stretch of paintings I did was robots doing yoga or playing with each other or flying a kite, all that kind of stuff. It was robots just enjoying themselves.
I like it especially because it sort of takes some of the sting out of the inevitable AI future in which we are the slaves of the robots.
Yes.
Seeing them like have picnics and do whatever really sort of like makes it seem less frightening.
That's I remember somebody on Reddit posed the question of what belief will make you seem like an old person to the next generation or the generation after that. Okay. And somebody said that they thought it would be people dating robots, that would be our thing where it's like, that's not a real relationship. You can't get married to a robot.
That'll be the civil rights movement of the future. Is people
exactly.
To marry their real life dolls or robots.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, that is probably what it's going to be.
It's grim, but it doesn't seem far off. Sorry, go ahead, Sto.
Well, I was saying, we talked about this last time, Steve, about like at what point in our life did we stop thinking about like the future is going to be amazing? It's going to like flying cars. We're going to have all this. And then it kind of declined. Now we're like TikTok, like the world's kind of wrapping up now. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it's true. People don't really imagine the like beautiful flying Jetson future that they once did. It's always grim now.
Yeah, but like I guess in the 60s people thought by now we would be in such a crazier future than them, and in a lot of ways we are. Like we have these these little rectangles we carry around that have all the information you could possibly need, and that would have seemed like a crazy thing to somebody who had a giant phone on their desk and a computer took up a whole room and all that kind of stuff.
And I think even just the visuals of like, if someone were to time travel forward to the year 2020, they would just be so confused as to why everybody is so magnet. Like the visual of looking around and nobody is looking straight up anymore. They're always sort of focused downward. That's got to be so off-putting.
Do you remember the tipping point of like, I remember when people were first starting to do like selfies, and I remember you'd be like, look at this douche. Like you were like, I remember they were the worst people at first, and then slowly but surely everyone was doing selfies all of a sudden. It's just normal.
Right. The ones who monetized it and became influencers set themselves apart as the true evil, I feel. So now people who just throw down the occasional thirst trap is almost refreshing.
Yeah. See, that's true. Like selfies used to be a thing that you kind of had to apologize for.
Right.
And now, like
it's a part of daily life from artists we all like.
And there's kids now that have grown up. That's their reality since always now.
Right.
Like there'd be a 15-year-old kid at this point would have been, the phones and everything has been around their whole life. They have no concept. Like we at least have a time that was.
We remember a time before phones. We all played outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which nothing makes you feel like an old person being like, back in my day, but really, like, I feel like there are kids that don't go outside at all ever except to go to and from places.
Yeah, and I remember my grandmother, she grew up without a fridge. Like that was just not a thing that people had. Ow. And then, now you think, well, of course, you have to have a fridge. Well, how would you survive without a fridge?
Right. But I remember it being like a scandalous thing to have a television in my bedroom when I was young. Like, you're letting this kid have a TV, and now it's like everybody just has a television / computer / communication device on them at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Yeah, it's a weird thing to think that there are kids who will just, like, they will have always had YouTube.
Right.
Like that'll just be something that, they will think is lame by the time they're 12. They'll be like, oh, YouTube. Ugh. Yeah.
Who still goes there? Can people commission specific paintings from you through the website, Graham?
They did during the kind of lockdown. I took some commissions. I ended up taking more commissions than I could actually do. I didn't take anybody's money, but a lot of orders were put in that I just can't fulfill because I don't have the time to kind of do them as nicely as I'd like to.
How long does each beard painting take approximately?
It can take anywhere. If it's something really simple, it can take about 12 hours. And if it's something a bit more intricate, it could take like days, Wow. Yeah. So I took a lot of commissions or suggestions for commissions, and I did, I think, maybe a quarter of how many that I got in. But I found that it's also hard to do a thing that you're not coming up with in your brain.
Yeah.
It's really hard when somebody says, do a picture of my dog or whatever. And I'm like, not good at that. That's not really my, I don't know how to paint somebody's dog. I don't know how to paint things that people are like, paint this thing.
Right.
Capturing the essence that they intended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone comes to you with like a picture of their like beloved dead grandmother. Like, I want a portrait of, no.
Yeah. Can't do it. Don't know how to do it. Yeah. Like a couple, my dad commissioned one of my uncle, and that one took me like a week to do because it was not in my wheelhouse. I didn't really know how to draw a person and make it look like that person.
Right.
So, so I haven't finished all the commissions that I had kind of roll in, but maybe someday.
So if people do want to contact you through the website, expect a polite response and a lengthy wait time if you can get to it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Fair enough. During the pandemic, aside from painting and writing, I'm sure you're still working. Are you still working on? You're still working on the debaters regularly, I would assume.
Yeah, a lot less than I would have been. We did early in the lockdown. We did like a from home version of the debaters. We did 2 episodes, I think, of that. Okay. And then we recorded a bunch in Vancouver in October, but you could only have 40 people in the audience, and it was a huge place. So it was 40 people spread out over a giant space.
Which is hard to capture the audio, I would assume.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot less. You know how when you do a comedy club weekend, Friday late show is always terrible.
Yes.
Yeah, like that carries over into no matter where you're doing a show. Friday late show is the pits, and right. If you have several hundred people there, it sounds fine because even if half of the audience is sleeping on the show, you still have 350 people who are enjoying the show.
Exactly.
But with 40 people, if 10 people are checked out, you're like, there's not much crowd to play to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It is weird to I imagine just to look out and just the smattering of people.
Yeah. But it was nice. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. After you, Graham.
It was nice to be in front of an audience. Like that was,
take it.
Like it totally, I would take any shape or form that an audience could safely be around. So it was really nice in that regard.
Right on. Have you picked up any new stress management or self-care habits during the lockdown in the last year? Are you trying anything new to calm down or blow off steam?
Yeah, the one thing that I've had so much of a saga with it is I used to, a long time ago, I used to run pretty regular, like if not every day, pretty much every other day. And I ran for years and years. And then you can fall out of the habit. It's like with any exercise thing, you just get sick for a week or you hurt yourself. And then all of a sudden it's a month and then you haven't done it for 6 months and now you're not a runner anymore. So,
right.
That I tried to get back into it a year ago or a year and a half ago. And I was getting into it. I was doing well. And then I tripped and broke my hand.
Oh, no.
So that that sidelined me. I was like I had this broken hand and I just didn't want to go again because that hurt so much. And then I finally took it up again. And then I was at a cabin and I fell in a ditch and I broke my rib.
Oh man.
So I just couldn't catch a break to really get back into the swing of things.
Couldn't catch a break to not keep breaking things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like a calamity. Every time that I got a little bit into it, I would get some horrible injury. So now I'm on it again, and I'm just waiting for the next injury.
Just like running it. And you should consider one of those like human soccer balls, the sort of inflatable hamster ball thing.
Yeah,
just for safety's sake.
Yeah, just to like run on the top of a pool or something like
exactly. That actually sounds really fun. Last interview question for you, Graham, before we get into some of our other segments here. Which of the Fab Five from Queer Eye do you identify with most and why?
See, I've thought about this question long and hard, and I don't know. Like, I've only seen a couple episodes, especially the new one. I saw more episodes of the old one.
You're an OG.
And I think of that crew. I like I like Carson Presley. I like that guy. Because he's funny. He was funny. And also the what's the guy with the long hair on the new one?
Jonathan Van Ness.
Yeah, he's also I think he's also funny.
He is funny. I listened to his autobiography on audiobook this year. Early in the year, and it has maybe a few too many figure skating and gymnastics references for me, but he can write a joke. He's funny.
And he also did he hosted a gala at Just for Laughs
where he was doing somersaults in a unitard and stuff. From what I've heard.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people were so welcoming of Jonathan Van Ness to do it, and people were furious that Anthony was going to be doing the show. Everyone was like, the super gay guy, great, bring him on. But that hot one, absolutely not.
I was like, no, pick a lane.
The comedy community together just went, no, too pretty. He can't come party with us.
Yeah, it's funny, with the comedy community, because I just read an interview with Matthew McConaughey, who was considering doing stand-up. And it was just like, could good-looking people take a break and not own every goddamn thing?
Beat it. Get out of here, Matthew McConaughey. I mean, he might get laughs if he just read personal poetry. You know what I mean? I would see Matthew McConaughey do beat poetry for sure and lap it up and love it. But no, stand-ups?
No,
No,
he's smart though, because he's already created his catchphrases. He just has to close everything with all right.
Right.
Now he could really do it, but at the same time, I want him to fail. I want him to feel a bomb. It's so devastating. We all do. We all had to face a bomb that is just whoa. The one that makes or breaks you. You're like, are you ever going to come back to that stage?
So we're okay with Matthew McConaughey performing stand-up as long as he eats shit at least once. Really bad.
Part of the
sure.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a thing that a lot of people think they can do. I think it's something that a lot of people see and they go, yeah, I'm able to do that. And that's why you have Steve-O as a stand-up, and you have old wrestlers that are stand-ups and Screech and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
It's just like a catch-all. Anybody's like, I
Charlie
can do that.
Sheen.
Exactly.
Right. The Tiger Blood tour. How soon we forget. Isn't it funny? I feel like Charlie Sheen's public meltdown now after 4 years of Trump as a president seems like it's he was on TV saying the most horrendous, horrible things about people and the most crazy ramblings about Tiger Blood and whatnot, and now it's it's just Charlie Sheen.
Do you think that in a weird way that Charlie Sheen was just one step in a series of steps that eventually ended up with Trump in the White House?
Prepared the world for a Trump. I think it's entirely possible. Sounds right to me.
Right? Just one step at a time, the world got used to that kind of craziness till it wasn't so crazy anymore. It was
right.
I
think the correlation between Charlie Sheen's stand-up and the Trump presidency should be explored more thoroughly. Absolutely. There's definitely a correlation, I think.
I think there was a weird time in the early 2000s where the big celebrities started really showing on camera that they had drug problems,
Yes.
Even Whitney Houston, you were like, whoa, people were going on. You're like, who let you on TV? Right.
Well,
now?
The same Britney Spears' appearance at I think it was the 2007 VMAs when she did Give Me a More and just looked bewildered and confused. it's always any documentary you see about like an artist who has passed away, like the Amy Winehouse documentary and both recently.
That one's so good. The Amy Winehouse one.
It's excellent. Yeah, so good. But in both you find like, wow, it's sad to see that any family, like once they get a taste of access to a cash cow, will milk that thing until it, you know what I mean? Like the connection of the pressure of family pushing people into stuff when they long should be out of it and taking care of themselves, I thought was striking in all of those documentaries.
And isn't Britney Spears is under some sort of like conservative?
Yeah, there's the whole
thing.
The court documents are sealed. The whole Free Britney movement is happening, and it does like she wants her father out of her life, but still needs to be under conservatorship of some kind. And then there's the whole argument of like if Britney is like needs to be controlled like this, why doesn't Kanye? And like it's a messy conversation that I don't really like.
When Kanye makes his way into the things, you're like, you got to take a step back, you guys. Like,
it's
crazy. It's just like, I don't know how to approach this. There's no correct way to go about this right now.
And it feels like if you trace it back long enough, it feels like Michael Jackson was the first celebrity that everybody was saying, let's get into his personal life. And isn't he weird? And
right.
You know, there was always gossip magazines, but I feel like Michael Jackson was the first guy that was hounded by the press.
And the most sensational example, like the difference between late stage Michael Jackson and this idea of like Bat Boy or whatever, you know what I mean? Like Michael Jackson cover stories and just images and the whole mythology of Michael Jackson. It's crazy that there are still pop stars coming up that are like modeling their career after his. I'm like, don't you remember what happened to him? You know, why would anybody want that? It's insane.
Yeah, and you're right. It's insane. And I mean, like he did a thing at one of the music awards where he went up on stage
and thought he was receiving an award, but wasn't.
Yeah, so sad. He just took like the topper off of a cake.
Yeah,
and thought that it was an award.
A little music note. It was like, oh my god, I'm the artist of the millennium. That was so hard to watch.
To be fair,
and I think that was Britney Spears was announcing that award.
I think you're right.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Weird, yeah. Sad. Okay, well, one thing we want to know from you, Graham, is how do you get out of bed in the morning? What is your first hour awake usually look like? And there's no wrong answer here. If you're scrolling Twitter for the first hour and that's it, that's okay too.
I think lately what I've been doing is trying to get out of bed at the same time every day and not wake up super early and not wake up super late, but just always at the same time, just to create some sort of pattern. Because I feel like there is a magic point where it's too little sleep and too much sleep. So I'm trying to ride that razor's edge. So I kind of try to wake up at the same time every day. Lately I've been turning on the news but I feel like every day it's the same. It's a press conference from the Prime Minister and a press conference from the Premier of Ontario. And so I've kind of fallen out of that and just like I drink a coffee, and then, I go on the internet, I read the news instead of watching it. And then, you're just into the day all of a sudden. Like I think I'll hop in the shower and then that's it. The morning's over. Like you're already in the day. Yeah.
Perfect. And conversely, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, conversely, how do you get to bed at night? What's your last hour awake generally?
Again, I try to keep a pretty standard schedule. For the last while, me and my partner will watch a movie. We've been watching a movie every night. And from different genres and all sorts of different types of movies. And that seems to be like the ritual, like watch a movie, then after the movie, that's time for bed. And then we begin procedures from there. Everybody has their whole nighttime rigmarole that I hate. I hate that you can't just go to bed. Totally. You have to do like these 7 steps in order to unlock the achievement of bed. Proper
oral hygiene and skincare is sometimes so hard to get through.
Oh man. I mean, and my regimen is pretty easy as it goes. I can't imagine somebody who has a real, 10-step. Are you showing me all the goos?
That's all the stuff I put on my face. days.
That's amazing. How many would you say? There's like almost 15, I would say.
Yeah, like not every day they go on. They have AM, PM, and then all your stuff in between. And then there's days if I like want to peel my skin off, I can do that.
Right.
Well, whatever you're dodoing, you look absolutely radiant, Stokes.
You do. Yeah,
Really.
it's really, whatever you're doing is really working for you.
A youthful glow that does not look store-bought.
Okay, but here's the weird thing. Now it's like, this is the world I'm in now. It's like a powder. It looks like cocaine. And you have to like rub it. It's like, it's a lot though. Now after a
I
while,
thought you were going to say, like, I do a bump and I look super youthful.
but you have to be like, when you go to the stores, The Ordinary, it's really good stuff, but you have to be like a fucking chemist. Like, it's called like Reversotol 3%, ferulic acid 3%. Like, what does that mean? I don't.
Too much work. Too much science. I'm already checked out.
And where did you learn about these? Do you have to go to a website, or did you just freestyle it?
Well, I did my research ahead of time, like a good guy. And then I went there to the store to like get help kind of. And I was like, ma'am, like, what do I do with this? But the funny thing is they're smart. It's like they have a degree.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, this with this, never with that. So I was like, okay, I don't think you should sell these together then.
Yeah. It's
like,
never with that. Then don't do it.
It's dangerous. But like you said, I want to just go to bed. I don't want to do that anymore. I feel like it gets a little tedious, after a while. Like,
yeah. And it's just, like I say, like at the point that you're ready to go to bed, that's all you want to do. You don't want to really dig into another task.
And I'm the type of person whose sleep can be really fickle for it as well. So I'm worried that if I go, like sometimes if I go brush my teeth or wash my face or whatever, I'm all of a sudden like not sleepy anymore. So if I feel like it's like the magic hour to actually lose consciousness, I just want to jump in my bed as fast as possible.
That's my situation with when I go to bed. Like reading kind of turns my brain on instead of kind of lulling it.
Right.
So if I start reading in bed, then that's now I'm up. Now I'm but yeah, I think just going to bed after all the procedures have been completed, just hop into bed and then, I don't know, stare out into the ether until I fall asleep,
Ponder the futility of life until you
exactly just go over all the things I've done wrong and then drift off to sleep.
Perfect.
Human thing is that we all have to face our shit right before we go to bed. And you just it happens quickly. You're like, please, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah. I
just
remember every hurtful thing I've ever said right before sleep.
Yeah, just a quick slideshow of everything. And then
the norm. So our main topic of discussion for today, we want to talk about the things that stress us out and bring us joy about food. And of course, we'll have overwhelmingly positive things to say because food is wonderful. And we should probably acknowledge that it's a privilege to have access to enough food to get to complain about some of it. But we're still going to do so because everyone has foods that they hate. So let's start with the stressful things. What's your least favorite food on earth?
Least favorite. It's funny. I was talking about this very thing this morning. I'm a long-time vegetarian, but before even I was a vegetarian, to me, the worst meal was liver.
You ate liver. I don't think I ever have.
It used to be in a fairly regular rotation as I was growing up because my dad loved it. Mm-hmm. And it was, if you never had it, it's like a food that feels like it's warning you not to eat it. You know what I mean? Like how a plant will kind of emit something that's to make sure animals don't eat it.
Right.
What liver tastes like.
But when you get it to your mouth, it has that play dead smell that you're like, I shouldn't.
Yeah. And like, you have foods that you eat and then they contort your face without like involuntarily, your face kind of starts doing this thing and things are twitching, kind of warning you don't eat this.
Right.
That's kind of, liver is like, the people who love it adore it. And I know that it's used in a lot of, high fancy cuisine, but it's terrible. It's terrible. Oh man.
Fair enough.
Wild how bad it is.
Stove City, what's your least favorite food on earth?
Least favorite food. My mom used to make something and it just made me so mad every time. Like every time I'd be like, why? Why would you do this? And it was called Chicken Supreme and I would call it Chicken Suckapreme because it just sucks so bad. And it was like cream, like cans of Campbell cream of mushroom with like chicken and mayo and like cheese and you just shoved it in the oven. I was like, you know what? If you don't want to cook, just don't cook. Like, I don't understand why you're doing this right now.
Yeah.
Wow, ungrateful bastard, Steve City.
Oh, scars me for life. But then joke's on me though. Then she's like, guess what? You can cook from now on. And so I paid the price.
Right.
So yeah.
It's funny that you should say that, because mushroom soup in my house was an indication that my mother lost her way on a recipe. If something went horribly wrong, she would just throw a can of mushroom soup in it, sort of override everything else.
That's smart.
Some sort of casserole or whatever, like just can of mushroom soup, stir, bake. This is what we're having for dinner tonight.
Oh,
So
I love that.
Association with cream of mushroom soup as well for that. My least favorite food on earth, and I still try it once every 6 months because there's something like weirdly civilized about it, is oysters. I think oysters are like a salty booger from the ocean, and I don't really understand why people love them so much, but I do try them every once in a while just to see if I like them yet, and no dice thus far.
And I'm allergic to seafood. I can't have any of it. So from a distance, eating oysters seems so bizarre.
Totally.
Like you said about the liver, I feel like it's very much saying like, don't eat me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I mean, just because you can, don't.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you should. Yeah. What are people's most egregious food habits? Some people get really sensitive about noodle slurping or soup or chewing with mouth open. What's something that really makes you cringe?
If I'm out at a restaurant, somebody who's watching something or talking to somebody on their phone where you can hear the audio from their phone,
Agreed.
to me, that I think that's egregious. Like that
Totally.
makes me so upset when I'm out, because then I have to hear, either the second side of their boring conversation, or they're watching something on YouTube, or they're watching some video of a kid that their parents sent them.
With loud, tinny audio in the middle of a public place where people are trying to enjoy themselves. I couldn't agree more.
Do you think they don't know, or they just don't care?
They don't care.
Nah, I was just like, oh.
Usually if you ask people to turn it down and put their headphones in, they give you a stink eye, but they'll do it. So I'll suffer a stink eye for peace and quiet.
Yeah, and it's I had to, like, a year ago it was happening, and I had to say to the guy, like, come on, man, like, this is too loud. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, bud.
I feel like come on is very, like, it's very realistic. It's very like, it's like,
exactly.
What's happening right now? Like, I'm giving you the prompt now to do it. It's very
and I'm not going to freak out in the way that it's where I'm all of a sudden the bad guy. Because I'm sure, I don't know if that's ever happened to you, where you were the good guy and then you go one step too far and then all of a sudden now you're the bad guy, where you're like, now I'm the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, I threw an asshole or a bitch on the end of the sentence that didn't need to be there, and now I've lost the room.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody else is like, we used to hate that person, but now we're turning it on you.
Totally.
Wait, so you run, or what do you do?
I'm doing weightlifting. Yeah, like I actually have been climbing. I already did the stairwells this morning. I got up at 6:30 and climbed the stairwells in my building.
Oh man, that's outstanding.
Well, I gave up alcohol this year, and one thing I forgot about life before drinking is that I had a ton of energy as a kid. I was very sort of hyperactive, and that's kind of rearing its head again. I just have all this energy, and I'm not feeling especially creative, so I'm just working out a shit ton.
That's really smart. That's I was wondering how many people kind of did a similar thing, like just no drugs or no alcohol or whatever for the duration of this, and and then the other side of people who all drugs and all alcohol.
Oh, right,
the whole time
right.
This has been going on.
Right. I mean, lineups at the liquor store in my neighborhood are straight up hilarious on weekends. Like 4 blocks, like seemingly hundreds of people. I'm sure that's an exaggeration, but I've said this whole year that I either picked the absolute best or worst year to do it. I'm not sure, because it would have been nice to just get wasted at home sometimes. But at the same time,
so this was before this all happened.
I decided to give it up for the year 2020 just to see how I felt. Just because I've dabbled with it before, and I was a pretty heavy drinker, and after 20 years of going hard, I could really see it in my face and feel it in my bones. So decided to give it a full year, and it's gone well so far. So I think I'm going to stick with it once 2021 kicks in.
That's fantastic. My brother did the same thing. He was, as soon as his wife got pregnant, he was like, that's it, I'm off. And then it just stayed the course.
Oh, right on. Good for him.
Yeah.
So before we're going to cut off, we were just talking about sort of some food stressors. One thing, any food trends that you would like to see go away, or things that people go crazy for that you don't understand why, culinary wise?
The culinary wise, one of the things I don't get, but just kind of all of a sudden was on the scene is like sous vide stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Like a sous vide egg or whatever. I don't think I could care less about having something. I mean, they look nice, but I can't understand.
Plastic bags, aren't they? Isn't it essentially like it's boiled in a plastic bag? Is it?
Yes. Yeah. It's just like a very French thing to do. But I feel like they weren't anywhere. And then all of a sudden, every place had sous vide something. And is exactly what you say. It's something that's boiled in a plastic bag. I could get, that's rice-a-roni or whatever like that. Exactly. I can get boiled in a bag.
You can make a TV dinner. You can have a Hot Pocket. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're fancy French Hot Pockets, essentially.
Yeah.
Steve City, any food trends you hate that you'd like to see go away?
It's more of an Instagram online thing. I don't like this thing where it's like people make inanimate objects into cake and they like just take a bite out of it. I'm like, I don't get what we're doing here. I don't understand.
Oh, like super realistic cakes. Yeah.
And then they just like bite into it. And it's just all like, it's all that weird font. What do you call it? Like, I don't know.
Fondant.
It's like, it's that. And I'm just like, that's not appetizing. Like, I don't understand. And so to me, I'm just like, I don't get it. I just feel
that's a good one.
Don't waste that. Just make good cake that everyone wants. Don't make this weird stuff that no one asks for.
And just as someone who loves cake like freely and with reckless abandon, I don't like being tricked into eating it. I don't know.
Yeah. Like you'll go willingly. You don't have to be tricked.
Exactly. You don't have to dupe me. And also, like if I'm getting if I look at what appears to be like a turkey or a baked ham, my mind is ready for a savory hot meal, and then you cut in and it's fluffy ass cake. Like that's all well and good, but I just need some time to adjust, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, and like speaking of just like having access to cake, if you go to the UK, I feel like their access to cake is really a lot easier than ours. They'll have it at restaurants just on a platter by the bar, or they have it at pubs, and just cake and pie is very high engagement rate in the UK.
Respect for that.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can get cake just about anywhere, and I feel like as soon as I come back to Canada, I'm like, is cakes all of a sudden scare us? Like, where am I supposed to get a cake?
Right. Cake is to the UK what guns are to the United States.
That's right. Yeah.
They've always just got a couple behind the counter at whatever vendor.
And like, I don't know, like you'd have to go to a place that only makes cake or only makes dessert. I don't know where else you would get cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm really stressed out about food-wise is what this pandemic and its aftermath means for the future of the buffet on BC ferries.
Yes.
For anyone who is, if you have any watchers or viewers or listeners for this podcast, if you've never been on a boat in the province of British Columbia where we live, there's this really legendary buffet on it that is overpriced and not that good, but somehow still really, really appealing every time you're on the boat. Am I alone here? Are you guys buffet goers?
I do the white spot when I'm on the ferry. I get their whatever crazy oversauced burger.
Yeah.
And feel awful immediately.
You know what it is with White Spot that makes you feel awful? It's the fries. It's those soggy 2x4s that they call French fries. Every time I eat at the White Spot on BC ferries, I always get to celebrate the occasion with a 3-hour poop cramp. So I just try to avoid it as much as possible. It's always painful.
Yeah, absolutely. But like what else are you supposed to do? You're given this chunk of time where you can't. Everybody's talking too loud to like sit and read a book or nap.
Right.
And so you just have this chunk of time that you're like, well, like just go stand outside, I guess, for a while and then come inside.
Which is great. But even during the nice time of the year, you can't spend the whole time outside on the boat. You get all wind blown and you can't hear anything, and it's too much for sure.
And like the internet doesn't work, so you can't have even time on your computer or whatever. It just is like, so then you're like, well, I guess I'll just eat. I'm not hungry, I'm bored, but I'll eat anyways.
Right. And I have before brought like a sandwich from home and just felt like a garbage person. It's just not the same. We're all raised in capitalist nations. I need to buy something during my journey. It just feels right.
Yeah. Yeah. We're told there's never a bad time to eat.
What am I supposed to just sit and be content like a well-adjusted person? No, sell me something, please.
Yeah. And like, I think I think a lot of times I will find myself eating just because I have a gap in my time to just do so, even if I'm not hungry.
Right.
I'll just eat something and then be like, wow, that wasn't fulfilling because I wasn't hungry. I was just bored.
Right. Now I'm bored, but like 600 calories heavier. Yeah, but
you know what? Food is like
buns are delicious.
It'll keep, like, I think that's what makes the ferry doable. Like, it keeps peace on the shit. It just buys time. It keeps everyone busy. Even like when you're on a plane ride, even if they're just giving you that little bag of pretzels, you're like, please, like,
yes,
like I need.
An airplane is also like I won't be hungry until I sit down and seatbelt in. Then all of a sudden I'm starved. Yeah, and why can't I bring something with me?
I've started enjoying edibles before flying. This is something that I've done for the last couple of years now to calm me down because I'm very nervous on airplanes. So I take the sleepy kind of edibles. But the problem is that I'll spend like $32 on like Hudson News food for a flight from Vancouver to Edmonton. Like an hour and a half, but I'm just like 4 things of pretzels and hummus and wine gums and all of that stuff.
Yeah. But the whole culture of the airport. An airport is just a mall. It's just a mall that is tricking you into buying. Because when I was a kid, there was no store that you could go buy a shirt in the airport. Now you can like buy a shirt and some scarf and then also electronics. It's all of a sudden it's become like this whole shopping experience before you get on a plane, which is
bizarre. Is weird. You would think they would make it harder for you to change your identity before boarding planes these days, and not easier.
That's right. If you were some kind of stealth spy person, that would be the perfect kind of last minute look change.
Airports are just kind of like more stressful IKEAs. Like they're designed in a very specific way to get you to go where they want you to go. And no, I don't get it either.
Also, I have because I fly quite a bit. I'm in the Air Canada. I have the lounge. You can go in the lounge.
Yeah,
worth it.
And it's worth the money. Like if you travel even kind of 5 times a year by air, it pays for itself so fast because there's food there, magazines, newspaper. It's quiet. You can have a nap in there.
No kids. Best part. No kids.
No kids. It's great.
No kids. That's a rule.
Well, no, it's just that people don't want to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, children. Who could afford that? Yeah.
That's also the reason why it's great to pay for the buffet on the BC ferries. If you're really like feeling like your nerves are a little bit frayed already and you just don't want to have to deal with kids or the busloads of team sports teenagers that boats are always teaming with, you pay for the buffet to get away from them all.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And it's worth the money. Every time it's worth the money.
So we'll talk about the food things that bring us the most joy. Do you two have favorite restaurants on the planet? A favorite restaurant in the entire world?
Yeah, I do. I have quite a few of them here in town. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to think of a one that, have you ever had that where you've eaten one thing at a place and it was the best of that thing? And then either every time you go back to that city, you go and get that thing, or maybe it's not around anymore, so you'll never have that thing as good as that,
Totally.
Like there was, I think it was for a taping of the Debaters, and the catering had trifle, and it was like I hadn't had trifle since I was a kid, and I had it, and it was the most amazing trifle. I couldn't believe how good it was. And the chances of me ever being back there and having that trifle again are almost zero. And so it's just like going to just exist in my mind.
Right.
For the rest of time, I'm never going to be able to go back and have it. So it's just locked in a memory forever.
Right.
Like a lost lover. It's just one night stand I had, and we'll never meet again.
Exactly. It's the one who got away.
That trifle in what city was it?
It was in Ottawa, I believe. It was in Ottawa, and it was the best. And that happened to me too. I was in New York once, and I had a vegetarian jambalaya, and it was so mind blowing. And then when I went back to New York, we couldn't find it. We couldn't find the place. We thought we knew where it was, and we went there, and it wasn't the place. And so that again, it's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Like it's locked in this cage in your brain, and that's I can never have it again. Yeah, so that's kind of my experience. And then in town, there's like there's up on Fraser Street when you go south. There's a couple of the best Indian places in all of Vancouver, if not all of BC, and then a couple really stellar Chinese restaurants as well. And but you have to go to that neighborhood. You have to travel there. You have to kind of expend the energy to have that prize. But that neighborhood is, I mean, it's just everything.
Fraser and what? How far south are we talking?
Fraser and kind of anywhere between 45th and 50th is kind of like the hot zone of where the amazing. That's
the zone. There are interesting pockets throughout the city, like on Main around 26th, I think is a pocket for Vietnamese restaurants.
Totally. Yeah.
And there are a few little zones around the city that are great for that.
There's also, if you go on Kingsway, there's like a lot of Vietnamese and Malaysian and Chinese places that are all kind of in a clump. Yeah. And exactly what you're saying is there's just these pockets of where it's just unfair that one neighborhood has so many and then the next neighborhood just, has a Tim Hortons and that's all they have.
Totally.
Yeah.
Stoke City, what about you? Do you have a favorite restaurant on earth?
Yeah, I did. It was, I live on Commercial Drive and there's a place it used to be called Five Elements, a Vietnamese place. And it was spectacular. It was just so chill. You just went in, order at the front, paid right away. They bring you the food. It was amazing. It was just very low key. They've since upgraded. Like they did a full glow up. Like they and everything. So they just got rid of the name, changed it, and just stepped it up like tenfold. But now I'm like, well, now I can't go here anymore. Yeah, it's not chill anymore. Now it's like expensive and it's fancy, and I'm just like I'm happy for them, but at the same time, like, God damn it, I'll never have that thing again that I always had. Like, so good. It was peanut sauté pho, and I would just have it anytime I was sad or it was raining, and now it's just gone forever. I was like,
that's one of my favorite dishes too, is the spicy peanut satay pho. You can get one at Pho Central on Davie that's half decent. It's not as good as Calgary. Calgary has excellent Vietnamese food. A lot of people don't know this. There's a lot of good Vietnamese in Calgary, and they all serve spicy peanut satay noodle soup, and only one or two places in Vancouver do it. So I'm not sure what that's about.
And like that being said, the peanut satay, like I could see the jars of Kraft peanut butter like behind, like I could see it. Like there was no gimmick. It was just like,
I don't care how it's delicious, and I'm not under the impression that they're using fatso at my local pho joint.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
It's like, speaking about like Calgary having amazing Vietnamese food, a lot of times when I go to a small town, there's a family from somewhere like Cambodia or Somalia, and they've opened a restaurant that's that kind of food. And so you're in, Fort Nelson, and you're having this incredibly exotic, once in a lifetime kind of
authentic Ethiopian food or whatever.
Yeah, like the most authentic possible, because it's just that family has opened a restaurant. And so I've had like some wild, delicious things in these tiny little outpost towns
where you least expect it. That's awesome. Yeah. My favorite restaurant on earth is maybe a little bit trashy, because I know a lot of people have a lot of disdain for all you can eat sushi, but I don't give a shit. I love it. So I'm going to say Shabu-sen. Shabu-sen rules. Shabu-sen is an all-you-can-eat place here in Vancouver. It's an all-you-can-eat sushi with unlimited sashimi, I think. It's been a few years since I've been there, but it used to be like $25 a head, I think. And they have the grills in the middle of the table, so you can grill your own marinated meats and vegetables and seafood and stuff while you eat sushi. I've stuffed myself sore in this place. We used to, when we would go for all-you-can-eat sushi, we knew that we were in trouble if you can't exhale without sighing. That's like when every time you let air out, it's you're like you have to go lay down immediately. I've had just really wonderful experiences eating myself sore there.
I feel like a buffet. I don't know if you ever encounter this, but I find it stressful because you're trying to push as hard as you can to get the money out of it, like to get your value. But also, it's very unpleasant to do that to yourself.
You feel like shit every single time.
Yeah.
There's a good, there was like a reality show or a documentary where it's in Vegas, and it's like the people who run those buffets, like the craziest buffets I've ever seen, and them just playing games with customers. And it's literally like customers versus the owners. And it's like, who's like playing who in the game?
I mean, Buffets can be so wonderful for the food, but you really do see the worst of people at buffets, and it brings the worst out in people, especially the huge ones in Las Vegas. I've been to one called Bacchanal, I think, at Caesar's Palace, and it was like something like $60 a head for entrance, but there's literally like king crab legs stacked higher than I am tall, like just the most preposterously opulent, to the point where you feel guilty eating there because you know how much of this is ending up in the trash. But it's a sight to behold. It feels very like you're at the Capitol for Hunger Games kind of thing. So,
right.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It is funny, like not funny, sad, just how much food there is here. That, you know, that it's kind of, we have shelves and shelves of, like everywhere we go, especially in this city, there's just food everywhere. You know, and we're just like so spoiled food wise that we don't even realize, you know, like if you lived in Eastern Europe, you know, in the far, far east of Europe, you're eating one thing all the time. You're eating like that country's cuisine. You don't have access to this rainbow of delicious food.
They are jaded about having to choose one at this point.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Your biggest problem is which place you're going to order from DoorDash.
It's like very Netflix. Like, remember when you went to the video store and you were just overwhelmed? You're like, I don't even know what I want anymore. It's like that now. You're like, there's a lot of good options, but you're just like, my brain can't. I'm just going to go to the place I know.
And I miss the video store experience. That's another thing that if you tell a kid now that's how it used to be, they will look at you like you're the oldest person on the planet. Like they just
go to the front desk and ask if it's been returned yet, and they'll be like, "No, not since you asked 5 minutes ago. Chill out."
And you just stand in there and watch that like preview thing on this TV, and just stand there and be like, "Yeah, maybe I will rent Leprechaun or whatever."
And I also some of the most contentious moments between my father and I were at a video store because I was taking too damn long to choose something. I just remember my dad getting so angry at me at the video store.
And we in my family, I don't know if you have the same thing. Every week, a different member of my family it was their week to pick.
Right.
Some members of the family always knocked it out of the park, and some members, it was a constant uphill battle.
Were your family members just like selfish in their choice, and you're like, why this one? Or is it actually just like they thought this would appease everyone? You're like, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think both ways. I think it was trying to appease everyone or trying to appease no one. And so everybody really abused their week.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember specifically my sister picking movies like True Beverly Hills and me pretending to not be into it, but being really excited. You know what I mean? Like, don't let everyone know that you're so excited for this Beverly Hills Girl Guides movie. But it was one of my faves growing up.
Yeah. Is that Goldie Hawn?
No, Shelley
Long.
Shelley Long, that's it.
Yeah, Shelley Long. Yeah.
And she's breathtaking in it.
The hilarious comedian Kathleen McGee, she has a giant tattoo from Troop Beverly Hills on her leg.
Yeah, her leg is a masterpiece of famous comedians. I think she's got Molly Shannon as well on there, and maybe Gilda.
It would totally make sense.
Wouldn't surprise. Anyways, they're great. Kathleen McGee, she's got a ton of killer tattoos.
Yeah.
When you're on the road, Graham, what's your go-to? Because obviously you can't always be healthy. You end up eating at a lot of dive restaurants. I myself am a beef dip or clubhouse person, but you're a vegetarian, so obviously that's different for you. I choose beef dip or clubhouse because they're hard to mess up. You can't really fuck up a beef dip, and you can smell if a clubhouse is off. So it's a safety kind of thing.
Yeah.
What do you usually choose?
My big thing that I learned kind of in the early years of doing stand-up is always when you hit town, go to the grocery store and get like just a variety of staples, because the chances of you being able to eat after a show are so small that there will be a place open. And even in like the mid-sized towns, the only place that's open is Boston Pizza. So I guess like by default, it's probably Boston Pizza is what I've had the most.
Right.
You know your
way around a Bandera bread.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's what it is either food that I bought at the grocery store or the default, either Denny's or Boston Pizza seem to be the go-tos. So
if you go to a dive restaurant, what do you order?
If it's a dive restaurant, I'm also vegetarian, so usually it's like the all-day breakfast because you can't really mess that up.
Yeah,
that's also a smart choice for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We all froze there. We all froze at the same time.
It was almost like it was a well thought out plan. That was impressive. What is your favorite meal of the day? Are you a breakfast guy, lunch, dinner? Do you care? Do you love them all?
I think dinner's that's the big show. I feel like breakfast is really just like 3 things. Lunch is something that I routinely will forget to eat altogether. But dinner's like let's sit down and really prepare something and eat it properly and all that kind of stuff. The other meals of the day they can be so small, but
Right.
Dinner's always like it's a thing and there's a side and there's, all these possibilities.
It was like that growing up in my house too. Dinner is like for sure the big show, and always at the table. Did you guys, were your families like that as well, where all meals have to be eaten at the table?
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Mine as well. And my husband, Peter, is not like that. And to be fair to his parents, they had 3 boys that were all like within 2 years of each other. So it was just chaos. They just wanted to feed them, I'm sure. But they've always eaten by sort of hand in front of the TV or wherever they wanted to. And my mom was militant about always having to eat at the table. And so now I find myself trying not to nag Peter about it. But the thing is, I'm horrible at eating any other way now. I can't balance a plate and eat like this or sit on a couch and eat. I'm covered in food at the end of it because I've only ever eaten at a table.
I'm the exact same way. I have that exact same problem. Is I grew up with eating at the table and now I'm trying to eat in front of the TV, and inevitably it's just, I look like a baby's been eating there at the end of dinner. There's just food fucking everywhere all over the floor.
We're in the couch. There's like, when I used to drink, I had the problem of sleep eating. We would wake up in the morning and there would be like a trail of noodles from my bedside to the fridge from when I've gotten up in the middle of the night and just shoveled stuff into my mouth and then gone back to bed and had no recollection of it. This happened like probably dozens of times. There was one night when we had a good night out drinking with friends and then woke up in the morning. Peter had made my favorite chicken thighs recipe. It's the sweet and spicy chicken thighs thing. And he had made a portion of it for the week. And then we woke up the next morning and it was just sauce. I got up in the middle of the night and I ate 8 chicken thighs to myself in the middle of the night and don't remember doing it.
Wow.
Did you just wake up just like, ugh, like you?
No, I wasn't in pain at all. I actually got up in the morning and went to open it to like have a bite before my work day. Because I was like, and that's when I found the sauce and went, oh no, what happened here?
Yeah, it's there's like some condition that's similar to that where people sleepwalk and then they literally sleep eat and they'll prepare a meal while asleep, and it's usually like it'll be some coffee grounds from the garbage and like it's always just like stuff that you shouldn't be eating, but they're completely asleep while they're doing it, so they have
in their mind it's a souffle. They're like making
exactly
or whatever.
They're making something in their mind, but it's a nightmare thing that they've created.
I've never sleep eat, but one time in university, I remember I like blackout drunk. I made a lasagna from scratch, like smoked layers, like the oven, broiled it, all these things. And I woke up, was like, I used the oven, like I had a burn mark. I think it's this one still to this day. I touched the element in the oven and I didn't know. I woke up and I was like, oh, like, but it was a beautiful lasagna and it was amazing. And I didn't even eat it while I was drunk. I saved it for myself.
A sleep lasagna. Wow.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
That's a dream come true as far as I'm concerned, that you woke up with the lasagna that you made. My goodness.
Like 5 a.m, I think.
Now, last sort of question here, and it's a very important one. I think this will reveal a lot about all of us and our characters. If you could only eat one meal, one food item, every meal for the rest of your life, and not get sick, obviously, there's no malnutrition question here. It's just you have to choose one thing that you would eat every meal for the rest of your life. What would it be and why?
I've often thought about this question in relation to like, what food would you eat if you were on death row for your like
your last meal?
But yeah, I feel like that's a different answer than what I would eat every day. I think honestly,
but you know what? I like that because it has more variety to it. So let's switch questions then. Death row, last meal of your life. What would you have and why? Well, I know why because it's delicious. What would you have?
Yeah, I would have a really delicious like fake ham sandwich with like just like the softest, whitest, bad for you kind of bread. and like all the fixins. I would have that, and then a pack of cigarettes, and I would smoke as many cigarettes as I could. And then a Coca-Cola. That would be the last. That'd be like my perfect last meal.
That was unexpected and delightful. I respect that a lot. You don't currently smoke, right? You're a former smoker?
Former smoker, yeah.
I'm the same, and I don't ever want to admit to that I would smoke again, because I'm really happy to be a non-smoker. But if there was a comet coming at the earth and we were all for sure going to die in a week,
yeah,
immediately cigarettes for sure, no question.
Yeah, just 4 in a row.
On the brink of execution, I would look like Cardi B while she was waiting for the election result. Yeah.
Or like one of those world record pictures where the guy's got like 65 smokes in his mouth.
Stone City, death row meal. What do you eat?
You know what? It's not original, but I think I would do like a holiday, like mashed potatoes, stuffing, and just all that stuff. I feel like, I don't know why. I feel like that would just fill me with like serotonin and endorphins.
Yes.
Just by emotional association, I would just be content and happy and be like, yeah, do it. Pull the trigger. I don't care.
Yeah.
I respect that. I would want cabbage rolls made by my mother or grandmother for sure, and Island Farms chocolate milk, because Island Farms makes the greatest chocolate milk on the planet, bar none.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And then I would have pistachio gelato from Dolce Amore on Commercial Drive.
That's like a pretty well-balanced, like sophisticated dinner before you.
That's my final spread for sure. And also if cabbage rolls are dinner, like if I'm on the electrical chair, they'll all pay for it with the smell I would leave behind for sure.
I know. Yeah,
you're vengeance on the way out.
Yeah, they have to drag your dead body out, so you might as well make it as difficult and as impossible.
Yeah,
exactly. That's just one last middle finger before you're.
Graham, it was such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I really
thanks so much for having me. This was a real treat.
If people want to check you out, you're on Instagram at Graham Clark was taken, Twitter at Graham Clark. Your website is grahamclark.com. And of course, they can check out your beard art at beardpaintings.com and check you out on the Debaters or Stop Podcasting Music.
That's all. You nailed every single one. That's where I'm at.
Wonderful. Thank you again so much for joining us. Take care, and we'll talk to you sometime soon.
Yeah. Good luck at your workout.
Thanks very much.
All right. Bye.
Does this make me look chill? Does this make me look chill?